She thought money could buy her freedom, but justice came knocking at her door. Welcome back to Wealth and Wounds, the channel where we tell stories of injustice, resilience, and the fight for truth. If you believe every story matters and every voice deserves to be heard, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories they don't want told. The Florida sun was just beginning to rise over Tallahassee that November morning. The quiet streets of the upscale neighborhood were lined with manicured lawns, expensive SUVs, and gated driveways. It was the kind of place where people thought they were safe, where whispers of crime felt distant, reserved for another side of town. But for Daniel Marks, a 41-year-old law professor and loving father of two, that illusion shattered in an instant. As he left his home to take his children to school, a dark sedan idled at the corner, its tinted windows hiding danger. Moments later, gunfire erupted, and Daniel collapsed on his driveway. Neighbors woke to the sound of sirens, and within hours, his tragic death became the lead story on every local news station. The investigation revealed no forced entry, no burglary attempt. This wasn't random, it was calculated. And behind this carefully orchestrated act was a tangled web of betrayal, wealth, and bitter family conflict. At the center of it all was Donna Adelson, a wealthy grandmother, socialite, and matriarch of a powerful family. Donna was no stranger to the spotlight. Known in her community as a polished, impeccably dressed woman, she owned several properties and moved in elite social circles. To most people, she was just another wealthy retiree. But behind the designer handbags and manicured nails was a woman obsessed with control, especially when it came to her daughter, Wendy. Wendy and Daniel had once been the perfect couple, law school sweethearts turned legal power duo. They had 2 children, a beautiful home, and careers anyone would envy. But their marriage crumbled, and after a bitter divorce, Wendy won custody of their kids. Still, she wasn't satisfied. She wanted a fresh start in South Florida, near her family, far from Daniel. But Daniel refused to let her take their children hundreds of miles away. To Donna, this wasn't just about her daughter's happiness, it was about power. And in Donna's world, no one, not even a well-respected law professor, could stand in her way. As the investigation unfolded, detectives discovered something chilling. The murder wasn't a random act. It was a murder-for-hire plot. 2 hitmen were eventually arrested, but the trail didn't stop there. Through cell phone records, bank transactions, and cryptic text messages, detectives found a connection between the killers and Wendy's brother, Charlie Adelson, a flashy dentist with a taste for fast cars and nightlife. Charlie, who was later arrested and convicted, had allegedly orchestrated the plan to eliminate Daniel, making it look like a robbery gone wrong. But when investigators looked deeper, they found Donna's fingerprints all over the conspiracy. Secretly recorded conversations captured Donna speaking in coded language about the murder. In one recording, she chillingly discussed cleaning up the mess and hinted at silencing anyone who might talk. For years, Donna thought she was untouchable, a grandmotherly figure hiding behind a wall of wealth and influence. The turning point came when detectives launched a risky undercover operation. An agent posed as an extortionist, threatening to expose Donna's family's role in Daniel's murder. Donna's reaction wasn't that of a terrified, innocent grandmother. It was calculated, cold, and eerily calm. Her words sealed her fate. In November 2023, years after Daniel's murder, Donna was arrested at Miami International Airport while attempting to flee the country. She had one-way tickets to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. The image of Donna, once a respected socialite, being led away in handcuffs sent shockwaves through the community. This wasn't just a murder case, it was a story about wealth, privilege, and the belief that power could silence justice. Daniel's parents, Mark and Ruth, had fought tirelessly for years to bring justice for their son. They attended every hearing, spoke to every reporter, and refused to let the case be buried under legal technicalities or wealth. Their persistence was the reason the story stayed alive. In court, Ruth looked directly at Donna during her arraignment. "You destroyed our family," she said, her voice steady but her hands trembling. "But we will not let you erase Daniel's memory." The trial captivated the nation. Prosecutors laid out a chilling timeline: financial motives, bitter custody battles, and a family willing to go to unimaginable lengths to solve their problem. If you've been following this story and believe that justice must always prevail, subscribe today. Your voice matters. Together, we shine a light on the darkest corners of injustice. In the end, the jury didn't see Donna as the grandmotherly figure she tried to portray. They saw a mastermind. Donna was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation. When the sentence was read, life in prison without the possibility of parole, gasps filled the courtroom. Donna, once draped in pearls and diamonds, was now just another inmate, stripped of everything she thought made her powerful. But this story didn't end with Donna's conviction. Because even behind bars, whispers emerged. Was Donna the true mastermind, or was she protecting someone else? On the day Donna was sentenced, an envelope was delivered to the courthouse, an anonymous letter with a single message. She didn't act alone. Authorities have never revealed the contents of that envelope, but rumors swirl that someone else close to Donna was pulling strings from the shadows. Could this person still be free? Could they be plotting their next move even now? The fight for justice may have just begun. This case reminds us that justice is not about wealth, connections, or influence, it's about truth. For years, Donna thought she could rewrite reality with money and power, but truth has a way of shining through, even in the darkest of places. The courtroom had been packed the day Donna Adelson was sentenced, but the real drama was only just beginning. While the cameras flashed and reporters scrambled for statements, Detective Maria Lopez quietly slipped away from the crowd. In her hand was the envelope that had been delivered anonymously just hours before Donna's sentencing. The note inside was short but chilling. She didn't act alone. Those 5 words reopened a case investigators thought they'd finally closed. Weeks after Donna's conviction, Lopez and her partner, Detective Harris, combed through evidence that had already been analyzed for years. But now, with fresh eyes and a hunch that someone else had been pulling the strings, they started to see things differently. A previously overlooked bank statement caught Lopez's attention, a mysterious $50,000 wire transfer made just days before the hit on Daniel Marks. It didn't come from Donna's accounts or her son Charlie's, it came from a shell company registered overseas. Who owns this company? Harris asked. Lopez didn't answer, she just stared at the screen, a cold feeling creeping up her spine. The investigation led them to a name no one expected, Gerald Thompson. He was a wealthy businessman, philanthropist, and, more importantly, Donna's longtime friend. He was a man of influence, with deep ties to local politics and law enforcement. On paper, Gerald was untouchable. His spotless reputation made the detectives' theory sound outrageous. But as they dug deeper, the threads connected. Gerald had donated heavily to the judge who presided over Donna's custody battle years earlier. He owned property near the hideout where the hitmen were arrested. He had travelled abroad just weeks before the murder in what looked like an attempt to distance himself. What's worse, Gerald had visited Donna in prison multiple times, each time avoiding security cameras with carefully timed routes and private entrances. This investigation shows us one thing: justice is a marathon, not a sprint. If you believe in stories that demand answers, subscribe today. Together, we'll follow this trail wherever it leads. Reporters begged Donna for interviews after her sentencing, but she remained silent until one night she broke her silence. During a recorded jailhouse phone call, Donna's voice trembled as she said something investigators had waited years to hear. "I did what I had to do to protect my family, but Gerald knew everything." Those words blew the case wide open. Detectives now had probable cause to investigate one of the most powerful men in Florida. But they knew they had to tread carefully. Gerald's wealth and connections meant one wrong move could make the evidence, or the detectives themselves, disappear. In a covert operation, Lopez and her team wired an informant to meet Gerald at his private club, the goal, to get him talking. The informant, posing as a fixer with dirt on the Adelson family, offered Gerald a deal: pay $200,000 to make evidence go away. Instead of refusing, Gerald smirked. Evidence? What evidence? The only evidence that matters is the evidence people are allowed to see. He then leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. Donna's doing life, Charlie's locked up. Nobody's looking at me. That's how it's supposed to be. That recording was all prosecutors needed. At dawn the next morning, Armored vehicles surrounded Gerald's sprawling mansion. The raid was live-streamed by a neighbor, and the footage went viral in minutes. Cameras captured Gerald being led out in cuffs, his expensive silk robe dragging along the driveway. Inside his home, investigators found offshore account ledgers, burner phones, and detailed plans for the hit on Daniel Marks, down to the minute. It was the smoking gun. The man who had walked through life as if untouchable was finally being exposed for the criminal mastermind he truly was. But the story didn't end with Gerald's arrest. In court, his high-powered attorneys claimed he was being framed by corrupt investigators. They argued that Donna and Charlie had acted independently and that Gerald's wealth made him a convenient scapegoat. The trial was a spectacle, drawing international media attention. Protesters lined the courthouse steps, demanding justice for Daniel. Inside, Gerald sat stone-faced, showing no emotion, until Ruth Marks, Daniel's mother, took the stand. With tears streaming down her face, she pointed directly at Gerald. "You took my son from me, you destroyed our family. But we are still here, and we will not stop until every person involved is held accountable." The courtroom went silent. For the first time, Gerald looked shaken. The jury deliberated for days. When they returned, the verdict stunned everyone. Not guilty. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Gerald smiled smugly as reporters rushed to capture his reaction. It seemed money and influence had triumphed once again. But Detective Lopez wasn't done. Minutes after the verdict, she received a call from a source inside the prison. Donna Adelson had requested a private meeting with prosecutors, and what she revealed would shake the entire case to its core. Gerald isn't the one you should be worried about. There's someone bigger. Who was Donna protecting all this time? Was there another puppet master still lurking in the shadows, someone even wealthier, even more powerful than Gerald? As the credits roll on Gerald's trial, a darker conspiracy begins to take shape. The hunt isn't over. This is far from the end. Like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, share this story, and subscribe to Wealth and Wounds so you don't miss part 2 of this chilling saga. Justice may be delayed, but it will never be denied.